we are here for a very long overdue roundtable with Medina and David. Bryce couldn't join us this morning because she's traveling with Stephanie and it was going to be rather too early for her. So I'm really excited about today. Before we do the introductions, we're going to have a really fun, positive, uplifting chat on. I posted something on my Instagram today, which was you have the power to protect your peace. And it's really poignant for me at this time. And I know it's something that we all talk about a lot. So today we're going to be really focusing on updating you what we've all been up to and the lessons that we've been learning, sharing some of our own individual lessons that we hope might resonate with the listeners. So let's start with ladies first. Medina, how are you?
Fantastic, really, really good. I've been walking the walk, and I had a guidance since we spoke last to move actually, and so that's huge. When you move house, and not only have I moved, but I've moved to an island, so in Queensland. So I'm really excited about that, and it was following higher guidance because when you do these things and you make these big moves, you really just have to trust sometimes when you get the intuitions. And I did that, and it really worked out. So I'm really happy. It's a fantastic place to be where I am. I can elaborate more on that, but it's also good because it's talking about at the moment we're getting different guidance according to our higher what's in alignment with our highest good, and so therefore I followed that, and then I had a really good outcome. And I'm sure there's lots of other people like that are getting guidance to do different things because of the energies. Maybe move to a different location or leave a job, or maybe a partner's no longer in alignment with them. So, it's an encouragement really to follow that truth when we hear it, and just to trust.
So exciting. We're going to be asking you lots more about that. David, there's lots of exciting things that have been happening to you and lots of clarification that you've been getting. Fill us in how you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. I'm doing really well. It's been a very interesting time since our last chat that we all had, and I took a very long time off, kind of about a month or two off YouTube, kind of, and really looking at any videos. I just didn't really go on Telegram, didn't really post anything on Facebook, didn't look at much on YouTube either. Just kind of started again maybe 2 weeks ago, but it was really good. It was a really good break. I was still kind of keeping an eye on things, here or there. It's a bit unavoidable when you've got so many people sending you links and things, but throughout that period, I was thinking about, which direction I wanted to take things, because it's really been a great journey. But I felt like the reason, I've always wanted to do music just kind of solely, and and I said to you, Catherine, off camera one time, I wanted to streamline things, because it's involved in all these different things, and it's just taking up so much time. It's just it's very tiring. So, although it's fun and interesting, I just wanted to kind of streamline my life and just uncomplicate things. So I decided to discontinue creating this type of content, although I still will be available for interviews, but I'm not going to be creating any, producing any of it, and then focus on music. So over the weekend, I posted a video, which was going to be my last video, which is not going to be my last video. I'll probably just put a few updates there, but I'm going to turn that current channel into a health channel, and I've got a funny name for it, which I won't reveal yet on air. And then I started a new music channel when I released a new single as well, which is doing quite well, and I've got some good feedback from that. So it's been an interesting week.
I love your songs. They're so good. They're so catchy.
Thanks.
You can't help singing along after you hear them.
I absolutely love them, and we'll put links below to, obviously, as always, to all Medina's contact information and David's information. And I absolutely love your songs. They're just getting better and better and better. It's just fantastic. Well, yeah, I've been having a really fun time. I've been really sort of almost like an observer from looking down on things, is how I feel I would describe it, in terms of looking at what's causing me to react at certain things, and therefore understanding where others are at reacting. And that's why I did do that post this morning about you have the power to protect your peace, because what it all comes down to is we can all get distracted, but we have to take ownership for that. So what I've been doing is a bit like you two, is having a really good look at what I'm doing, because I'm one of these people that I'm interested in so many different things. And also as an empath, I find it really hard when someone reaches out to help, not to offer help if I've got the knowledge to do so. But then at the same time, also, that can be at the expense of myself or my family, two or four-legged. So I'm going through all that, and a bit like you two, is I'm really starting to streamline what I'm doing. There's a few things that are taking a bit longer to do that than I want, so I'm just being patient with that. But what I'm doing is tapping in very closely to how I'm feeling about every aspect of what I'm doing. And a bit like you were just saying, Medina and David, really then making sure that I'm making more conscious choices and not being pulled into things that I don't want to be pulled into, that don't align with me at the moment. So it's really interesting. It's a big learning curve. And I'd love to hear how people below, what you're finding. Are you finding that you're being pulled into things? Because it's all very well to sort of blame others, but at the end of the day, we all have the power to say no.
I think the theme of simplifying is really big at the minute, because where I moved to, it is in a sense a more simple life. And it gets rid of all the excess stuff. And, the mainland where people live, to me, it's getting very frenetic at the moment, very busy energetically. It's a lot. And so I found that I've actually simplified things in a lot of ways. And that really resonates because it's very peaceful. And I think there is a higher theme of us all simplifying. I mean, in terms of materialistic things and buying things, because, we can't access things in the same way we used to, including even maybe food. So it is about simplifying. What do you need and what is excess? What is making your life busy in a way that you don't need? And that can be with relationships. It can be with, so many things.
About David.
What you said, Catherine, about you're interested in so many different things. Everybody's interested in so many different things, or passionate about a bunch of different things. And we've kind of talked about this in our career videos, because there are so many things that you could do as a career, but you shouldn't do all of them. You can never do all of them anyway. But even though, like, I'm really passionate about weightlifting and things like that, but I couldn't really see myself being a personal trainer. I don't think it'd be very interesting. So I think it's a classic example of, like, when you get to a certain point when you've been in a job that you don't like for a long time, and you eventually muster up the courage to break out of it and try something new, you've got all these options now, but it's really difficult to kind of pinpoint what exactly it is that you should be doing, because you've got all these things that you could do. And you may want to try a bunch of different things, and you should try a bunch of different things until you find that thing. But you should never do them all at once. Because
and you're creative too. There's so many ways you can go when you're a creative person. I was just chatting to someone about that today, and she was saying she couldn't pinpoint what to do because she had all these different projects simultaneously. So, it's that also that ability just to focus on the one thing that is the priority in that moment, that most aligns with your energy and your joy, I think, too. So I think, really tuning into what it is that you love, that gives you the greatest high, the greatest enthusiasm.
And for a lot of different people, that will be different. I mean, I've spent my whole life with people saying, oh, you do too much. But for me, that's what brings me joy. For me, what brings me joy is all of the things that I'm doing, I really enjoy. So whereas for other people, they need a different pace of life. So I think the more you learn yourself, it's about not letting others project onto you what their needs are, what their joy is, because it's going to be different for all of us. So all three of us are really good friends, but we've all got we've got some interest in common and a lot of our own unique ones. And what really came to me again on my dog walk this morning, I was saying to Medina, I got so carried away on my dog walk, I was nearly late for this. But it really came to me is it's really as simple for me at the moment that we are just all energy. Every living being, whether it's a plant, an animal, a stone, a human, we are just energy. And every day we're making choices about what of our energy we're giving away and how we're topping up our energetic batteries. And when we're giving away energy, it could be by eating low vibrational foods or listening to stuff that doesn't align with us or triggers us, or breathing polluted air or drinking polluted water or whatever it is, or not grounding or spending time on things that don't serve us. And when we're feeding ourselves energy and topping up our batteries, there's a million different ways we can do from it. You've got, what are those people, breatharians, that don't need to eat? So when you reach that level of consciousness, so what everyone needs to top up their energetic battery is completely dependent on where their consciousness is now. So take, for example, something I'm really passionate about, which is sharing health solutions for people, which is something we share in common, David. We're really, really passionate about sharing health solutions. But it's something we all do because we share solutions. But everyone will resonate with different things, because some people can top up their energetic battery by a good night out with a friend. Some people can top it up by swimming in the ocean. Some people want to look after their physical body by taking supplements. Some do it by making choices about water, and some do it just by meditating or whatever. So just because something doesn't resonate with you, don't find the need to put it down, because you might be influencing someone that really needs that solution.
And that's a skill. That's a real skill, to have the clarity to know what it is you personally need for your own, benefit, because we're so externalized in this world that we're used to thinking about everybody outside ourselves and everything outside ourselves. And often people don't know what they really want. What is it that gives me my joy? What is it that I need to do for me? And you need often time to meditate, or to be silent, or be still, and get rid of all the excess noise and all the extraneous stuff, so that you can actually connect to what it is you need to do for yourself. And I think that's one of the issues, that people often don't even know what it is. They've lost sight of what it is that they need to do for themselves in that moment.
Moving through different stages of the life, don't you think? Like you were just saying, David. So, for example, when I was mum to 2 small children, I had different focuses, and that was the priority in my life. And now my children are bigger than me. I've got more time to explore some of these others. We have a tendency, I think, as humans, of thinking everything, oh my God, just because I haven't got the time to do it now, it's forever. But taking that joy of the stage of your life that you're in now, anyone who is looking after young children, what a gift that you've got children. What an absolute gift if that's something that you want. Not everyone does want children. But this is the thing. I've got my dogs again in the background here, and they're not sitting there thinking, well, in 5 years' time, I might not want to do this same walk. They're enjoying the walk they're doing now. And in 5 years' time, if they're a bit older and they've slowed down a bit, then they'll choose to do a different walk, but they're not thinking about that now. Does that make sense? I think that can cause so much trauma for humans.
It's true.
Yeah, I think there can be a tendency for some people, I think, when especially in the lower levels of consciousness, to think that everything lasts forever. You know what I mean?
Well, the only thing you know for sure is change. Things change.
Yeah, because I've noticed in discussions with people, like for instance, I was earning a certain amount of money when I first started this venture, and it wasn't very much. And they would say, well, you're not earning very much. I mean, yeah, sure, but it's not going to be like this time next year. Who knows what could happen? Like people just think it's just weird. Everything's static to them. So, and I think that it ties in really well with what's happening in the world now, because for people with a higher level of consciousness who have the eyes to see, you can tell that whatever was going to happen, whatever has been happening for the last year, 2 years or whatever, isn't going to happen forever. But then people go and get the thing in their arm because they think like, well, this is life. This is the way it is now. It's going to be like that forever. But you know, it's not. You know, nothing lasts forever.
No.
I think that's such a good point, actually. And I think this is where so many people, when they're on their journey of finding themselves, whatever you want to call it, you know, we talk so much about moving into heart brain coherence. And I was having a conversation with David Zublick yesterday on quantum consciousness, and a lovely fellow Aussie that I must introduce to you, actually, who does the sacred geometry, and Namala, just beautiful lady, another Australian. It's interesting how many Australians I'm connecting with. It's just really, really fascinating when you think, completely lost my train of thought now because I got off onto the sacred geometry. But yeah, in terms of really being open to be changing is really, really important, and being open to not rush in, as you were just saying, David, to a decision that you might regret. But then if you have taken a decision and then you've moved on to a different level of consciousness, then that's fine, accepting it and deciding if you want to do something about it as well.
I think that what we generally do as we go through life is because we're evolving, our choices create better and better circumstances for us. So we don't tend to, I find, go backwards when you're consciously working on yourself and you're getting rid of your baggage and things. When you make those choices, you generally each time go to another level. It's sort of like a continual upgrade, and I think that's a really good thing to note as well, because if you're staying stagnant and you're keeping the status quo, you don't give yourself that opportunity to really upgrade and to grow.
100%.
And I found it with this experience that I've had, because it's allowed me to, I feel like on an inner level, I'm getting to another level within my own being, because I've got a different situation here. It's completely different energy. It's much calmer and more in alignment with my soul right now. And so that's a really positive thing. I'm actually going out on an island cruise tomorrow. And it's amazing. You can hop as a local on a boat, and you can go on this cruise around all the islands for $15 and just go all day cruising on this yacht. So that's my day tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
I want to pop over on my dragon and go too. That sounds very good.
That would be fun. Do it.
Yeah, I really want to do it. I mean, one of the questions I really wanted to ask you today, and we'll start with you, David, first, is what is one of the, everyone who's listening is going to be going through their own things. So what is one of the things that you're happy to share that you're working through personally at the moment? And what are some of the lessons you're learning from it?
I think the biggest thing I'm working on at the moment is my health, actually. So you know that I've been buying a bunch of different products and I'm trying to do a few different things, and I think it's just staying consistent and doing it every day, and being open-minded to try a bunch of different things that may sound crazy, you know, or whatever. That and the business side of things is always a big challenge for me. I think that was the biggest challenge, the business side of things. You know, we always have these blocks, and I definitely have some blocks around certain things in business. I think one of the biggest things that I became aware of, or have been able to wrap my head around, is that, you know, in life, you're not really paid for the hour, you're paid for the value that you bring to the hour. So therefore, if you bring a lot of value in an hour, you're going to earn way more money than someone who doesn't, or, you know, and that sounds funny or very obvious, but it can be the difference between earning $20 or $30 an hour to earning, like, you know, hundreds of dollars an hour or more even, you know.
And different things are valued differently, aren't they, Dave? Like music's not valued in a way that, like, if you're an accountant.
Yeah, art's had a really bad rap for a while. I don't know why, but it's really undervalued in my opinion. And I mean, imagine a world without music or art or literature, awful. Or, you know, just it'd be weird, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what they tried to create in many ways.
Sorry, guys, there's a bit of delay. I'm just explaining to the listeners that quite often when we're on Zoom together, there's a bit of a delay. So if it looks like we're talking over each other, it's because there's a delay in our ends. It's funny you say that about it's not valued. So what do you both think? Because you're both musicians, and when you look at the top earners, they're some of the richest people on the planet. But there's a sort of a huge divide between a very few number that people would say have made it, and the rest of them. Where do you think that comes into the equation with the arts? Because it's the same with artists as well, isn't it?
Well, even the biggest artists in the world have free music on Spotify, so I think that kind of speaks for itself. But you know, the difference is that those people have been in the game long enough to have the right connections, to know where the money is, and perhaps the fan base, you know, to even if they put out a song for 99 cents or $1.50 or whatever, they have enough fans that to buy that song that they can make enough money, you know, or they have enough people streaming their free music to make enough money.
I personally think they've been part of the system, which has been part of that dark system, and they've been supported the whole way, and they've been pushed forward. And the ones that are perhaps aren't part of that system, who are, you know, often incredibly talented, like yourself, Dave, but they haven't been taken up because they're not part of that globalist elitist system that is the one that's coming down now. You know, we see in Hollywood and everything else. So I think that it's been very difficult for just the average person who's not part of that to get anywhere in that system unless they are somehow involved.
And I think probably with that, it's probably very difficult because a lot of people, when they're so-called discovered, whether it's as an actor or an actress or a musician or a model or whatever, are often very young. And if you're very passionate about your craft and what you want to do and following your passion, of course, you're going to be swept along quite often by these offers, often not knowing what you're getting into until it's too late. And, you know, this is the thing. I mean, we were just talking about off camera, Medina, and yeah, it's part of life's lessons. We all, you know, might be taken in by a person or a situation or a job or whatever, that then when you actually get involved and immersed in it, isn't what you thought it was going to be. So I think this is part of life's learning as a human, isn't it? But what you've got then to do is decide when you exit or if you can exit from a situation.
Well, so, my issue there is as a you know, a light worker, whatever you want to call that. I have always seen the potential of people, you know. So I've seen their goodness and their you know, beautiful essence and things like that. And I've missed, you know, particularly when I'm younger, I'm better at it now, but I've missed all the other stuff their human stuff that has made them very difficult. And so that's been my issue, to see people as they really are, as opposed to their inner beauty that perhaps isn't apparent in the physical at that time. And, you know, that's relationships and everything. So I know many people that have similar energy to myself do that as well. I'm sure I can imagine you would do that too, Catherine. You would see, and probably you'd see the best in people. So that's been a bit of a challenge. But
what's one of your, I mean, in terms of your sort of challenges, David, I think that's really interesting what you were saying about the value. I just wanted to pick up on that just before we move on, if that's what, Medina, because that's really, really important, isn't it? In terms of going back to what I was saying about the energy, we're all energy, and it's always a balance of what energy you're giving out, which is often a choice, and what energy you're putting back into yourself. And I would say in every little interaction we're having is like, what value are you bringing to your situation? You know, whether it's what you were saying, Medina, on your beautiful island and mixing with the new locals and having those gatherings, you know, what beautiful value that is. And luckily, I think, like your two opinion on it, I think we're all, or certainly people watching, you know, discussions like this, are all realizing that what we've placed value on in the past has been not great, and in our own personal interest or in the interest of the greater good. Now people are really starting to value different things in their own lives and in others, aren't they?
Yeah. And I just wanted to add around the money thing with the value. it can be a bit of a challenge to grasp or to not feel guilty about earning a big amount of money in a short amount of time, because you're so used to, working for $30 an hour, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And especially if you have big money problem, or not money problems, but money paradigms, negative associations with money, then you've got all this money, and then you probably unconsciously get rid of it, because you don't feel worthy of it or something.
Yeah, it's been really set up on our planet in that way too, I think, because there's been that, so that we can't get ahead, we can't empower ourselves, and that's just all been something that we've all been working with, combating, I think. So it's not even just our own issue, but it's a collective issue that we're all working with. Even the businesses that are all going down, in Australia, the small businesses that haven't been supported and are crashing, and this is people's heart and soul, that they've put lifetime of work into. So yeah, it's a challenge to turn that around, but I think we can do it. But yeah, it takes a lot of work. But you asked Catherine the question as well, what we're working on, and I'd like to share too that I'm working on the issue of, at the moment a lot of our shadow stuff is coming up, because as we're working on our own ascension and our own soul growth, all our sort of deep stuff that perhaps we haven't addressed, or our shadow stuff that we haven't, that's comes up in layers and things like that, it's coming up for everyone at the moment. So I notice that as my shadow stuff comes up, I need to address it as it comes up, and it can be, self-worth, it can be things to do with attachment. I'm not really attached to anything more, relationships with loved ones that perhaps I have to let go or surrender, that are no longer in the flow, and that are not in alignment, so they're not flowing at all, and I can't force them to flow when they're not flowing. So I find that the shadow stuff is for me what's coming up that I need to address at the moment, and that can be in different forms depending on the energy, but I do look at it as an opportunity, even though it can be a challenge sometimes, because then you're growing, you're working on things and you're evolving, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very good thing. And I think for me personally, on all of the above that you've both said, but for me personally, what I'm really working on is going back to this thing that, I have the power to protect my peace, and not allowing myself to be drawn into other people's dramas. There's a difference between being a really good supportive friend, but letting them, be them and do them, but not having to get involved in certain things. And I think for me, that is a really big lesson that I'm really working through at the moment. And it really is amazing then how much less of your energy you give away to unproductive stuff when you decide and just not to get involved, and that, as I said, for that boundary between being there for ones that you love, but equally not having to take responsibility for their decisions in life.
Being able to maintain neutrality, still be loving and unconditionally loving, but not be triggered or emotionally affected by other people's stuff. Are you able to really to do that at the moment, Catherine, or is it a work in progress? How are you going with that? I think
I would say I've made real breakthroughs in that over the last week. Quite proud of myself, because it's been an issue for me for quite a while. I really do feel I've seen it for a different level now, and I think it will always be a work in progress for me, but I do feel I've sort of moved up to the next level of understanding about how to cope with things like that, which has been really, really helpful, because and then when you step out of that, it's made me realize how much energy I was giving away that I didn't need to. So for me, it's all been about energy balance and on a individual scale, and noticing, like you were both saying, about how that's reflected by what I'm observing on a bigger scale as well.
Mm. Mm. And Dave, what made you decide, because you've got it, with your channel, you've made these decisions to change it. So what was the core reason why you've chosen to step, because you were building a lot of subscribers the channel was really building, but I think it was quite what's the word, courageous and admirable, really, to step away from that, any attachment to that, because that can be an attachment, and just let that go and just focus on the thing that you're most aligned with. I think that's great.
Yeah, no, it wasn't an easy decision, of course. And I think one of the things about attachment and about like leaving my job back in 2013 and moving to London, that was obvious. That wasn't a hard decision, but I found it very difficult to do it, if that makes sense. Like I really wanted to go, but it felt so, I felt so like it was a tough thing to do. But these days, with all the tough decisions I've made over the last few years, I find it much easier to kind of let go now. So I just felt like at this point, it's a very different world now, obviously, than it was when I first started doing those videos in many ways. And I do feel that so many more people are awake now. I just felt like it's now time to create the new, it's now time to, I was doing that for the time being because I felt like I needed to do it, and I wanted to not stay silent, at that point in time, because I was one of the few people that had a YouTube channel who could see what was happening in the world and needed to really, be a beacon of light, so to speak. Yeah. But then I felt like, well, now it's its own beast, and
more people are perhaps aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And I could probably reach a much different crowd with, you know what I mean? By doing the music, I'm going to attract people that are interested in that music that may not be awake yet, or that may not, be, you know what I mean? Spiritually inclined, so I could reach a much different audience and perhaps help them, in many ways. So it's, that's something that came to me only a few days ago.
So it's like, in looking at the current circumstance of your life and how the world is, and I guess tuning into what you think you need, but also the world needs at the moment. So you felt that for the community, for this music community that you're setting up. For me, I was asked by quite a few clients globally that they were saying that they felt they wanted to connect with more like-minded people that were part of their own energy, and had a similar sort of view of life, perspective. And so I set up a Patreon community, and it's going really, really well. I've got people posting about all different things. There's a lady that's just given me information about these wonderful homemade botanicals that she creates from her garden. And so I'll be posting all that for her, and different things about the community and connecting people, promoting people's passions, things that are their purposes. That was an evolution that it seems to be in alignment with what's happening now in the world, that people need to come together more in community. And so then I created that. So it's a balance for me, the personal growth and what I need to do personally with my universal service, or my service to others.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important. I've been thinking, and doing very much along the same lines. And what I'm really drawn to at the moment is, being a connector and sharing all, just opening people up to different people, different experiences, different self-empowerment. But I'm very much moving away from the people that just want to sit there and watch other people do the work, I'm very much more aligned now and working with people that want to contribute in whatever way that is, to contribute, like you were both saying, in terms of creating the new, not worrying about destroying the old. You know, I think you can only be in the energy of love or hate. You can't be in both at the same time. So what I'm really all about is working with people that are really looking to say, what can we do, not moaning about what we can't. So yeah,
How important.
for both of you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real personal choice about where are you going to put your energy, like you said. And time is a key factor in this life, that there's only so much time to do what you need to do. And how can we all work together in a unified way to create the best possible outcome for everyone? Where is there a demand in the world that's not being met, where people need services and things? And another thing that I'm really interested in is children, somehow supporting children. I'd love to make movies one day. That would be amazing, because there's no good movies out there. So Dave, I'm using your music, but maybe we'll do a song together there as well. But anyway, that's in the back of my mind. Who knows? It sounds like a big vision, but why not?
Why not?
Why not?
So yeah, no, so I hope that, yeah, my hope is that people realize that challenging yourself, that the other realization I did want to share is, I think in the modern world, I was having a conversation with someone about this. In the modern world, we are very fortunate to have so many choices, a bit like you were saying earlier, David, and also to actually have so much time on our hands. So anyone who's got time in their lives to sit down and watch a YouTube video, you're doing pretty well with your life, because you're not out having to graft 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day just to put a shelter over everything, food and water on the table for you and your families. So that gratitude side of things is really important, but also there's a downside to it, because when you have so many choices and you don't have to work so hard, that can actually be against your best interest in some ways as well. It's about balance, because as a species, we're not designed to be sitting there on our asses all day doing nothing and meditating. We are also designed to be moving our physical bodies and contributing towards our communities. So, I went on my walk this morning and I see a herd of geese, and you've got the herd of geese and you've got the ones that are taking the duty to guard whilst the other ones are sleeping. Well, they're not all meant to be sleeping all the time. And I think this is where sometimes we get off balance as human race, is like, actually sometimes to challenge yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually is really, really important, because if you don't give yourself those challenges, that satisfaction when you get to the end of the day and you've done a really constructive day's work, whatever that work might look for you, is really what we're about. Because part of the reason we're having such chronic health issues all over the world is because we're not moving enough. We are too sedentary. We're not making the right choices, putting the effort into cooking or preparing, if you're going raw, a home prepared meal for whether it's yourself, your dogs, your cats, is actually so rewarding.
It reminds me of those children that are given inheritances by really rich parents, and they just sit around and they potentially, they might go on drugs or destroy their life somehow because they've got nothing to work toward or no purpose. And similarly, tax lotto winners, some of them same sort of thing. And then their life, that they don't make the most of their life because it's just they feel like they haven't got that drive. So that's the good thing, I guess, about the system, in that we have to create that flow of income, because then sometimes it does motivate people.
And that's kind of my concern. If Nasara comes in and we do get like a monthly thing, monthly income or whatever that we don't have to work for, I wonder what would happen, because I would imagine, it depends how much it is, but I would imagine that a lot of people would end up quitting their jobs because they don't like their jobs. A lot of people may go traveling for a while and get that out of the system. You can't do that forever, so eventually all these you know what I mean? It's like being retired and then going sitting on an island and just sipping pina coladas there all the time, which, you know, doing a Medina. But you know, people have that aspiration. I know people that have that aspiration. They just can't wait to retire so they can just go to an island and then just go to the beach all day. And you get so bored. Like, wouldn't you get so bored?
You know what? I feel personally that we're going to go to a new earth where it's of a higher frequency and people are more evolved, and so they'd
have to be
an energy and lethargy or sort of laziness that won't be in the frequency of where we're going to. It's going to be higher than that. So people will be wanting to do things that are in their joy, I imagine, and that, you know, we'll be at such a level that won't be an issue because that's more of a 3D matrix concept.
100% it is.
Yeah, I think it is a 3D matrix concept, but you know, you don't see. Again, I know the wild is a difficult place for most animals, but you will not see an animal in the wild. You'll see prey animals, you know, herbivores will get very fat in the summer and very thin in the winter, but they never get so fat that they can't run away from a predator.
Yeah.
And it's just an example. And I'm saying that, you know, I think, again, this comes back to the self-responsibility. You know, sometimes the kindest thing you can do, self-love doesn't mean sitting there watching movies and eating chocolates all day. You can absolutely do that for a day. You also have a responsibility to this physical vessel, your emotional vessel. You know, it's proven how beneficial for mental health just going for a walk in nature is. Trumps any sort of jump out there. And I agree with you, Medina. I think, and what you were saying, David, I think that's where, you know, people saying, why hasn't it come in? I think it won't come in whilst there's so much consciousness where that would happen, because how would that serve mankind or the planet? Or, you know, I hate just about mankind, but it wouldn't serve any of us. If you make life too easy for humans, then unfortunately, if you're not at the right level of awareness, that can be really, really the worst thing you can do. It's like spoiling your child. If you've got a toddler and you're spoiling it by giving it crisps and sweets, that's not really love. You know?
Yeah.
True.
So anyone moaning that it's not happening quick enough, this new thing, we can all make it happen. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say, guys. I know, again, I think we're talking to the converted, if anyone that's watched this so far. But I have really, really have moved up to the next level of absolutely, we create all of our own reality. You can't just say I created the good bits, but not the bad bits. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
I think I've really been having a good laugh at myself here. So where I've had really good friends, you two amongst them, where I've been having conversations about what I would call my moany head on, I've then had to laugh and sort of think, yeah, but I created that. I can't say I created these good bits and not these bad bits, you know. So I think that has been, again, I've known it for ages, but it's just sunk into me in a much deeper level over the last recent thing. And that's really positive.
I think we're really hard on ourselves too, aren't we? Sometimes, you know, the inner critic that speaks up and says, oh, you know, you've done this wrong or that wrong. But I think we can really start patting ourselves on the back a little bit. We're going through this incredibly intense transition of the earth and humanity, and it's huge. You know, it's never been done before, apparently. So, you know, we're all navigating something completely unknown in some ways, and we're doing the best that we can, and we're not going to always get everything right. You know, it's going to be a process of you know, trial and error, and I think that, you know, we're all really trying in our own way as best as we can, and I think we need to honor ourselves for that.
Yeah, everything is a manifestation, good or bad. And I remember when I got kicked out of my house when I was living in Melbourne, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, "You manifested that." And I said, "Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Did you find a better place to live after that? Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, manifested that too.
Yeah.
And but I was talking to another friend who was in Melbourne at the time, and I was saying, well, you manifested that. And she's like, no, that's a bad thing. We only manifest good things. I said, no, we don't. We manifest everything. Everything's a manifestation. So we have to own that, don't we? We have to own that. or you're just going to be, you know, kind of blocked off.
In some ways, there is no bad and no good anyway. You know, that's just, again, a 3D thing, because everything that we experience is part of our growth and our evolution. And so what can be perceived as a bad thing could be the greatest growth of all.
We got to celebrate every outcome.
Yeah.
I think that's the main, like you say, you know, you celebrate every outcome, because like every cloud does have a silver lining. So on the other side of that, there's going to be something good that comes out of it. Like, even though I got kicked out of my house and lost my job pretty much within the space of, you know, two to 4 weeks, you could say that was really bad, but it's actually the best thing that ever happened, because I hated both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And the same could be said for the whole last 2 years of what we've gone through. On some ways, it can be the very worst thing that we've ever gone through, because, you know, people have lost jobs and, you know, there've been health issues and so forth. But it's also really pushed humanity such an accelerated way towards our own collective growth and ascension, it's also in many ways a fantastic thing. Otherwise, we would have just stayed stagnant in how we were going before, and nobody really that has awareness wanted to keep the momentum of what was going on before, which was, you know, wars and violence and everything else negative that's happening, and not to mention what's happening with the little people and things like that. So, you know, this can be perceived very much in two ways, and it's how you choose to perceive it, half, you know, cup half full, or, you know, cup half empty type thing. So I think that's really important to keep in mind in these last 2 years as well, because although, you know, many people have been through very challenging experiences, it's also meant we've gone inward and we've done a lot of inner growth, and humanity is changing so much. I mean, I said to Catherine before, I'm really feeling the energies are starting to raise in frequency. I feel like there's so much going on underneath that's positive, that's taking out all the darkness and clearing that out. I really feel that strongly. And, you know, we can see it in perhaps some of the things like all the resignations politically and things around the world and different things that are happening. So, and I talk to people and they say, yeah, I'm feeling that too. I'm feeling that there's some really positive things happening that maybe we're not privy to yet, but this doesn't mean they're not happening. We can still feel them, and that the energy is raising, and there's a lot of good things that are happening that weren't happening before.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening if you choose to look at it. And I still think that we've got to really keep focusing on what we do want to happen as well. So take the UK political situation at the moment. The candidates that are looking to replace Bojo are horrendous. Well, I don't know one of them, in fairness, I know nothing about them, but one of them is just like, ooh. But you know, I'm not going to focus on them getting the job, or if they do, I'm going to focus on still the outcome that we want from all of this, not on being pulled back in. Not that I follow any of it, honestly. I'm so clueless, I haven't got a clue. But on the good thing, British women football are in the finals of the Euros, and I'm going to watch that on Sunday. So I'm focusing on that outcome. Come on, Lionesses. So before we finish, had to get sport in there somewhere. Everyone tell me it's low vibration. I think is fantastic. So what's your final messages? Let's go with you first, David. Anything else you'd like to say before we finish off today?
Something that I usually say, and it's just do whatever the hell that you want to do, because we're at this point now where the new world has started, I think, and it's only going to snowball and build momentum much quicker than I think we even know. And now's the time to really get in touch with what you want to do and get the ball rolling, because if not now, when? You know, if not you, then who?
Yeah, good. It relates to timeline, I think, doesn't it, Dave? Because you know, when you think about timelines, there are so many potential timelines that could be created through what you choose to do.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to create the best potential, highest potential timeline for yourself. And often that means letting go of the things that we don't want anymore, that don't serve us, in order to make room for the things that we do want to come in, and also not being scared of change and things shifting. I think that's another really important thing too. I mean, my choice, I can say to anyone out there that's wanting to make a life choice, which is a big change. I was in the same boat not long ago, and I'm really glad I made that choice now, because my life's really improved on a lot of different levels, and I'm really happy about it. So if that's an encouragement to anyone out there, then I'll feel happy. So, yeah.
I can see that energetically. Your energy today has just been another level up.
Thank you.
So I really see how much that's really suiting you, that you've done that. Well done. And you, David, with the changes that you're making, the decisions you've made. So well done. And my final advice is laugh. Laugh as much as you can. I was speaking to someone yesterday who does laughter yoga. She's going to come on and do some laughter yoga, which is just basically sitting there laughing with us. And I mean, I think even the thing that there is such thing as laughter yoga is bloody brilliant. So yeah, my thing is, if in doubt, laugh.
Can I tell you a funny story, Catherine? I used to work as a recreational assistant in an aged care facility, and I thought, I'm going to do something really unique and different. I'm going to bring in a laughter coach person, and I brought them in, and she was, trying to get them all to laugh and everything, and they just all sat there. Everybody laughed. She just couldn't get them laughing, and I thought, well, that was a flop.
It made us laugh. You see, you never know when this resonance is going to come, so it might not have made them laugh at the time, but it's made all us laugh now. So late reaction. Oh, thank you so much, you two. I have really, really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, anyone who's taken the time to listen to our little coffee chat or smoothie chat, and let us know what's working for you guys below, please. We love that. Take care, everyone.
Oh, thank you. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.